Ryoma was an ugly, disgusting, lonely, isolated loser who spent the last 3 years of his life in solitude and had tamed over 1,069 slimes. Over the years, they began evolving into legendary species with overpowered abilities. Some of them evolved into cleaner slimes to wash his dishes since he'd never get a housewife, while the others turned into scavenger slimes to eat his garbage that smelled like an anime convention. He thought he would continue enjoying this peaceful life until one day, he saw a group of soldiers trying to stop their comrade from dying. When Ryoma tried approaching them, the soldiers nearly executed him on the spot, but Ryoma tried telling them that he had medicine for their friend. However, after years of not speaking to anyone, he was barely able to form words, but the soldiers tried trusting him and gave his medicine to their fallen comrade, bringing him back from the dead. Relieved to see him alive, he invited them back to his apartment, but as they walked closer, they saw his horde of slimes and were ready to attack. However, Ryoma tried telling them that they were his familiars, so the soldiers thought he was weird as they backed off and continued walking along with him. When they got to the edge of the cliff, Ryoma activated his magic sigil to reveal the secret entrance into his home, and let their fallen comrade sleep on his bed. As they stared around his home, one of the soldiers realized that there was only enough furniture for one person. As Ryoma came back to give them more medicine, they wondered just how a kid was living alone in the mythical forest, so their leader introduced himself as the Duke Reinhardt and thanked him for saving his friend after he was stabbed by bandits. However, he wondered where he learned how to create those magical healing potions, so Ryoma tried telling him that he learned it from his grandparents. But since they passed away 3 years ago, he'd been living alone, as no villager would ever accept an outsider into their village. Feeling bad for how he's been alone all this time, one of the soldiers decided to show him a magical crystal ball that would reveal whether he was a criminal or not, and show them his hidden skills. As he grabbed the sphere, the mage saw that he wasn't a criminal, but told him that he lacked all combat skills and was weaker than a girl. However, when Ryoma went away to make them some food, the mage showed the ball to the rest of the soldiers. Among his overpowered skills, they were shocked to see that he had the mental pain resistance skill maxed out, making them realize that he might have been living a horrible life this entire time. Before long, the men were finally about to return to their city, but as they walked away, Ryoma felt a pain in his chest after lying to them about his grandparents existing. Because 3 years ago, he was an ugly, underpaid, and overworked salaryman, until he got a heart attack and was teleported to the heavenly dimension. But when the gods asked him if he was upset, he told them that he was waiting until the day he would get isekai'd anyway. Every day of his miserable life, he would work for a black company where he would stay up all night working overtime for no pay, and without any days off. If only he had played the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends, then maybe his life wouldn't have been so miserable. Because just like his ability to reincarnate from the boring, useless life he used to lead into being the most overpowered adventurer, you can now metamorph the all-new mythical champions in Raid Shadow Legends. These new brokenly overpowered champions are able to metamorph between their two counterparts, allowing you to access 2 different champions during battle, and create the greatest lineup to defeat all of your enemies. However, you must be wary when selecting the accessories and blessings you give to the champion, as both forms will use the same items. But if that wasn't enough, you can now get the new legendary Sun Wukong champion for free. All you have to do is log in for 7 days before October 23rd to get that legendary monkey, and be sure to claim one of the greatest epic champions of all time, Stag Knight, along with the skin designed for him by Jontron himself. Just make sure to use the promo code JTSKIN before October 7th. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code or download through my link in the description for free to get these items and become richer than Ryoma, instead of ending up as a poor, ugly, low-budget loser that no one ever wanted.
Damn!
He wondered who they were, so Gain told him he was the god of creation, with Lulu Tia being the goddess of love, and Kyufo being the god of life, so Ryoma wondered if he was inside an isekai anime. This guy's onto us. The gods told him that they decided to end his miserable life because of how ugly his face was, and give him a new life with another ugly face again. However, Ryoma wondered how that was fair. After all, his face was only deformed because his boss broke hundreds of bottles into his head, and he endured pain from his toxic dad for 20 years to help his mother, just for him to lose all of that progress in an instant. So Gain told him that he brought him here to rub even more salt in his wound, and reincarnate him as an ugly child. But to make it up to him, the gods decided to take a portion of the Earth's magical power to infuse it into his body. Before sending him into the other world, the gods made him sign an NDA after falling for their crypto scam, and told him to enjoy his life as a broke loser again, opening the gate into the new world. Before he knew it, he was reborn into his new body and saw the book of knowledge that the gods had left for him. On the last page of the book, he saw all the legendary skills that the gods had gifted him, so he decided to try them out on a tree, and slashed the entire tree with just a kick of his foot. Wondering how he's going to control his strength, a random slime approached him, so he decided to try and tame it by reading the book. Immediately, he started releasing the energy inside of him to cast a taming sigil around the slime, making it his first familiar. As they set out for miles together, Ryoma decided to spend the rest of his life researching slimes. 2 weeks after he had seen Reinhardt's lackeys, Ryoma was counting the number of slimes he had gathered, and saw the soldiers coming back to see him, but also found his main love interest. Reinhardt's father introduced himself as Reinback along with Reinhardt's plot-filled wife Elise, but the only person he wanted to meet was their daughter Illyria. However, when she introduced herself, the Riz Lord panicked and said that he's a man of culture and spends his free time as a Discord mod. Even the grandpa laughed and called his face ugly, but he was shocked to see just how many slimes he had. And when Illyria asked him how he fit them into his house, he began showing her their superpower. Before her eyes, 100 slimes began jumping on top of each other until they merged into a single giant slime. But Elise was shocked as no one's ever tamed a big slime in history. However, Ryoma told her that it was merely 100 slimes that were combined together, so she told him that he was the first person to ever solve the greatest taming mystery. The butler told her to get her beautiful hands off his stinky, disgusting body, so he decided to invite them into his house, and commanded his slimes to shrink before going inside. To reward him for saving his friend, Reinhardt gifted him a golden clock since he had no way of keeping track of time. But he revealed that Illyria wanted to tame her first slime. However, she wasn't sure which one she would be able to tame on her first try, so Ryoma tried teaching her about all the slimes. He began showing how the scavenger slimes ate all of his trash, while the cleaner slimes could do the job of the useless ugly maids they brought along with them. They wondered if they could clean the toughest stains, so Ryoma told them that the only thing it couldn't clean was that ugly look on their faces. He shoved his hand into the slime to show them that it really wouldn't have an effect on them, since he's already tried to clean the ugly from his face, but it never worked out.
Damn!
However, Illyria still wanted a cleaner slime to be her first familiar, but Ryoma thought it was too difficult to explain to a girl, and the guards wondered what he means by that. After they were done talking, the men realized that they were hopeless, but Hughes had huge balls and told the women to remove their plot armor and start showering, so all of them slapped his face and called him a perv. Ryoma tried explaining that cleaner slimes were only attracted to the sweat of their future owner, and while it shocked Illyria, she was determined to get her own slime and become a tamer. A few hours later, she went into the forest, and by the end of the day, she had finally made her first familiar and promised to treasure him forever. Back at his home, Ryoma remembered the very first slime he ever had, and while he's no longer here with him, he hopes that he's in a better world now. Just then, Reinback offered him to join them while they stayed in a temporary town, and when he was frozen hearing that he can finally take a trip to a different place, Illyria tried telling him that she was also hesitant to leave her house at first. But when she told him how she saw the world and saw all the joys she was missing, Ryoma realized that he can't stay locked up inside of his room like a Valorant gamer, and asked them if he would be able to join them on their adventures. All of them were excited to hear that he was going to join them, and Reinhardt said that he could carry his belongings. But Ryoma revealed that he had the Void Box. Even Reinhardt was shocked to hear that he possesses the unique Void Box skill, as only a single person in the world can own it. And Elise told him to forget about her daughter because she'll teach him anything he wants to know.
What do you mean by that?
But Illyria told him that she'll end his life if he chooses her mother instead. Ryoma said he wouldn't want either of their ugly faces anyway, because his slimes felt better. That night, Ryoma began packing all the rare drops he collected from the beasts roaming the forest over the years, and before long, his entire home was empty. However, he made a trip to the god statues he created, and told them that he'll definitely make another tower of them whenever he got to the other town. After closing the entrance to his home, the butler summoned his void box and released a carriage of horses to take them on their journey. As they traveled, she wondered if Ryoma actually was capable of controlling water and fire. But Ryoma told her that he could actually control all of the elements in the world, and Reinhardt wondered when this guy's overpowered abilities would stop appearing. As he stared at Reinhardt's ugly face, Ryoma struggled to keep a straight face because of how his wife was already trying to leave him, but he ended up letting out a slight laugh. When Reinhardt wondered what made him laugh, Ryoma told him that he forgot to wipe the ugly off his face.
He cold.
They continued for weeks until their carriage nearly fell down a landslide while it was raining. So Ryoma revealed that he had created a raincoat from his sticky slime for it to repel water, and went outside to help the soldiers. As soon as he walked outside, he casted a shield barrier to block the rain from falling on the soldiers. He told them that he can clear the landslide from their path, and casted his Create Block magical ability, transforming the dirt into hundreds of bricks, and allowed the slimes to transport his bricks until they created a path for them to travel on. By the time the sun rose, Elise came and shoved her plot into his face, but pushed him off when she saw he was suffocating. As he saw everyone's happy face, he thought it was amazing to help all the people, but wished he would have suffocated in Elise's heavenly gigantic After 3 more days, they finally arrived at the town, and Ryoma had to get his status board to reveal the level of his magical powers. As he approached the sphere to reveal his status, a magical light emanated all around him, and he was transported back into the heavenly realm. The gods welcomed him back, and Ryoma wondered if he was dead again. But the gods revealed that they had gifted him with the oracle skill after he had prayed for them for 3 years. When they tried complimenting him on having the cleanest bathroom in this world, Ryoma tried saying it was only because of his cleaner and scavenger slimes. But Gain revealed that those weren't the only species he invented. He had originally created the first slime, but given them an infinite amount of evolution paths, so it was all because of Ryoma that their limitless potential was unlocked. Remembering just how shocked everyone was, Ryoma realized that they must have been surprised to see species of slimes that had never existed, but the gods thought it was even more shocking that he managed to meet with the ducal family. He wondered why, so the goddess revealed that a girl who was previously isekai'd by RecapKun was reincarnated in this world. Her only wish was to tame animals, so she created the taming magic and married into the Jamel family. And the gods had been watching over them and giving them their blessings, with Ilaria being one of the strongest beast tamers in this world. After hearing those words, Ryoma realized why she was so determined to work hard. But Ryoma wondered if he'd ever meet another person who reincarnated from Earth. However, the goddess told him that they only teleport a single person every 200 years, and Gain revealed that he accidentally isekai'd one of the biggest otakus that wanted to destroy the world. However, he was such a loser that he ended up just sitting home and sulking in depression after not being able to watch AniClimax videos. They were glad that Ryoma wasn't a villain like him, and told him that the god of art and war had also given him their blessing, but started teleporting him back into his world, telling him to talk to them whenever he needed something. After waking back up, the priestess told him to keep his stats a secret, and walked away. As he looked at his magical abilities, he realized that he had been given the beloved child of the gods title. When he finally left the room, the grandpa told him to conceal his powers, as the nations of the world would try to exploit them with his young age. So in order to avoid being defenseless, he told him to register with the Tamers Guild. But Ilaria wondered what his magic capacity was. Ryoma revealed that it was 198,000. But Ilaria was shocked, as having that high of a capacity makes it nearly impossible to learn a new spell. After all, she hasn't been able to learn a single spell, and her magic capacity was over 200,000. She wondered how he became so great at using magic, so Ryoma revealed that he just started playing with magic until he mastered all of the spells. When they got to the Tamers Guild, they realized it would be extremely difficult to raise their rank, as their rank is determined by the strongest monster in their control, which were just powerless slimes for Ryoma. Because of how weak they were, they decided to the Adventurers Guild instead, but he needed to pass a physical test in the field to determine his powers. As he prepared to get ready, the instructor told him to shoot down the 5 targets ahead of him without wasting a single arrow, so Ryoma drew the arrows and fired at the targets, hitting every single one of them in the center. He wondered if all his hunting had prepared him for this test, and Elise wondered how he was able to shoot so fast. But Reinhardt told her that he'd shoot something else in her face later. For their next exam, the instructor told Ryoma that he needed to shoot 50 targets with 50 arrows, and as soon as the test began, Ryoma managed to land every single one of the shots on point. When the last round of 4 appeared, Ryoma readied 4 arrows and shot them down with a single shot. But as he tried to relax, the instructor threw a dagger towards him. Ryoma deflected the blow and launched towards the instructor to annihilate him, but the man begged him for mercy since it was just part of the test. When they were done, he told him that the blade was dull just to test his reflexes, and was stunned to see him also attack, as no one's ever tried that before. He told the Duke's family that he passed all the tests, and Ilaria started spinning around with him to congratulate him. Inside the guild's cavern, he handed Ryoma his G rank card and told him that he needs to prove himself by completing more quests in order to become an S-rank adventurer. So with the receptionist, Ryoma learned that he can take quests that are one rank higher than him. And when he looked at the quest board, he saw that the community's toilet was absolutely destroyed after dealing with all the citizens' shit. So he decided to do a smaller cleaning quest first using his overpowered scavenger and cleaner slimes. Before long, he started packing up for the journey, and all of Ilaria's family bid him farewell before leaving. When he got to the house, he saw a hot cat girl who spammed the meow button. But after realizing that it smelled like an anime convention inside, he thought she was too ugly for her body count to be higher than his level in Rocket League. Apparently, the entire community's garbage was thrown in the dump right next to her house, so when he got there, he took out his slimes and unshrunk his scavenger slime before letting it divide into hundreds of smaller slimes. Within just a few minutes, all of the trash was cleaned inside. And when everything was cleared, Ryoma used his magical abilities to clean the entire wall with the help of his cleaner slimes. When everything was cleared, he used the dirt to create bricks and fill all the holes using the sticky slimes. Within just a few hours, the entire place was cleaned, and the cat girl started crying because her hole hadn't been plugged for 10 years. As he walked back, he realized that he can actually make this world a better place, and when he got back to the guild, he saw that she had left him a load of gold coins heavier than all the loads she used to take. However, the guild master came up to him and said that he was surprised there was someone who could ever clean up that house, so he asked Ryoma how he managed to do it. When Ryoma revealed that he used the power of his magical slimes, the master told him that there was something else that needed to be cleaned. But Ryoma already knew that it was the community's toilet. Hearing that he'd already known about it, the master went on to reveal that the government stopped funding the people's sanitation after they began going bankrupt, so the toilet was completely destroyed before long since no one wanted to work without pay. Remembering how he was exploited as well in his previous life, Ryoma wanted to help by cleaning it with his powers, but he also wanted to ask Reinhardt's family if they would help him out. At their house, Ryoma told them about how the government had been cutting funding, but this was the first time Reinhardt's ever heard of it, so he told his butler to investigate the corruption in this city. The following morning, Ryoma got to the 30 community toilet pits and summoned all of his cleaning slimes. From his item box, he took out all of his cleaning clothes and had a slime cover his face from the odors. After opening the door, all the scavenger slimes started rushing in, and after a few hours of eating all the bullshit, Ryoma washed the place using his magical powers and sanitized it by boiling the room. After a couple of hours, he realized it was going to take a few days to clean all 29 structures, but the scavenger slimes began splitting to double their count. However, after looking at their status, Ryoma saw that they learned the poison resistance skill, and realized that there was poison building up inside of the toilets this entire time. As soon as he got back to the guild, he saw that Reinhardt and the others were already telling him about the corruption, but Ryoma told them that there had been poison building up in the toilets this entire time. And even though he tried telling them that he cleaned all of it off, Elise and Ilaria told him that they didn't care about that, because they only cared about him feeling well. This was the first time he felt someone worrying about him, but the guild master realized that this poison could slowly end his life if he's not careful with it. However, Ryoma decided to show them his status window, revealing that he had hundreds of skills that made it nearly impossible for him to die, and would even regenerate his health if he was exposed to miasma without the slime's protection. Seeing how overpowered he was, Ilaria's grandpa told him that they'll trust him to stay safe while he cleans up the toilets. A few hours later, Ryoma was ready to clean up the pits once again, but this time, he combined the new 1000 slimes that split into a king scavenger slime, allowing him to use the gluttony skill that finished the job in just an hour instead of 3. After a few more hours of cleaning the toilets, the Duke's family were worried about Ryoma, so they brought him food and drinks since he wasn't going to come home. When the nighttime approached, the adventurers wondered why he was still working even through the night. But Ryoma was determined to help the community as soon as he could, so he kept going since they were halfway done. After consuming all the delicious crap, there were now 3033 scavenger slimes, so he split them up into 3 different king slimes to increase his speed. On the 3rd day of cleaning all the bathrooms, he was finally done, but all the adventurers were worried about his health. Mia ran up to hug him, and Ryoma wondered why he was always suffocating in plot. At the Adventurers Guild, the master told him that he will be getting a big payday for all his work, but all he cared about was not seeing his ugly ass face anymore. When he got to his home, he realized that it was already morning, and remembered all the sleepless nights where he would get home from work in the morning, and every single time, his mother would stay up to greet him when he got home. All of that changed when his mother died, and even though he was supposed to be sad, no tears ever came out. Instead, he only felt a big hole in his heart when he got inside his empty home after work. And even though it was lonely at first, it started being normal as he realized that he can't get back what he lost. As he opened the door, he saw how all of them were waiting for him, and when Ilaria asked him what was wrong, tears started flowing down his face. They wondered if he was sick, but he told them that he was just remembering something from the past, when his family used to always wait for him from when he got home. Elise came to hug him from the back, but he told her that he was alright. However, she told him that it was fine, and Ilaria hugged his hand, saying she was glad that he considered them as part of his family. Ryoma's tears kept flowing, because this warmth, the one that he lost all those years ago, he was finally feeling it again, and it began filling his heart. Inside his bedroom, Ilaria told him good night even though it was morning. As he laid in bed, he realized he was glad to come into this world, because he was finally happy again in his life. Before he woke up, Ilaria was preparing breakfast for him with Elise and the two useless maids, and when the food was ready, the butler went to wake him up. At the table, he was shocked that Ilaria made all the food, but realized that it made perfect sense, because it tasted like the shit that was inside those toilets, and looked even worse than Hughes's dumbass face. Outside the mansion, Ryoma wanted to teach Ilaria some fire and ice magic, and tried showing her how to make a sparkling firework. However, it made her sad seeing how it faded out, so he decided to teach her some water magic instead. Using a circle he made in his hand, he began blowing bubbles into the sky, so Ilaria decided to try it out as well. As she added some sticky magic to it, her bubbles began forming, but they popped right away, so she tried imagining the green slime in her hands as she casted more bubbles. This time around, the bubbles didn't pop, so Ryoma tried showing her that he can make an even bigger ball to play with, and Elise thought that this ball was bigger than Reinhardt's. As they kept bouncing it around, Ryoma was glad that she was actually having fun with magic, but told her that he wanted to show her something even cooler. He began casting water inside the bubble, and started causing it to fly using his wave magic. And with his water control, he began changing the shape of the water to turn it into a fish that started swimming across the sky. All of them thought it was amazing how he could control this magic, and Ilaria thought that she could finally have some fun playing with magic. While she was playing on her own, Ginger Boy Camille wanted to teach him some attack magic, so he casted a fireball and turned it into a fire arrow that blew away at the cliff. Ryoma decided to try imagining the fire arrow as well, but his explosion was bigger than Camille's. But that wasn't the only thing he had bigger than Camille's, because his water magic along with his ice arrows, fire walls, and tornadoes were all bigger than Camille's. After having mastered all of his spells, the butler decided to teach him some space magic. And while Ryoma revealed he can use teleport magic, the butler began trying to teach him his dimensional home and warp abilities. For warp, all he needed was a strong mental image of where he was headed, and as he imagined his destination, Ryoma warped away above the cliff. The butler congratulated him, and as he began teaching him how to use dimensional home, he realized that it was just a better version than Item Box. This was going to finally be his way of carrying the slimes around. And after several hours of trying to cast it, Ryoma was determined to get it this time around, and finally successfully casted the spell. The butler congratulated him on becoming a professor in quantum physics, but said that it was time for them to start heading home. The following morning, they began heading to the northern mine to train Ilaria in fighting against monsters, and she revealed that she's going to be leaving the capital soon to go to school, but he wondered if he was ever going to see her again. When they got to the cave, Ryoma released all of his slimes, and Elise carried a third bouncy ball because 2 giant cannons weren't enough. Their job was to investigate how many monsters there were inside the cave, but as they got closer, he saw a giant praying mantis appearing before them. Even though they weren't dangerous, there was probably going to be more than 30 of them hiding, but they tried to let Ilaria handle the first one. Using her ice arrow, she completely missed her first shot, but she landed her second blow and knocked it down. Ryoma told her she was just as useless as her father's face, and the scavengers started eating the praying mantis. Before long, 4 more appeared, but Ryoma thought that he could deal with them, and started rushing towards them with his daggers. As he evaded their blows, he knocked one of them down before eliminating it, and rushed towards the second as he jumped off the wall and slashed its head off. The third one tried slashing him down, but Ryoma slid it down with the fourth mantis and crushed all of his opponents. They wondered just how overpowered the Wizard of Oz was, but the slime started eating on the insects. As they continued going deeper inside, Ilaria noticed a shiny Pokemon in the distance and immediately realized that it was a metal slime. And she wanted to become Ash and catch them all, so she ran to trap it in between the ice shields and hugged onto it. Ryoma congratulated her on catching it and told her to tame it, but she handed it to Ryoma, telling him that this was her way of thanking him for teaching her how to use magic. Seeing how kind she was, he told her that she wasn't as worthless as he thought. And all the men wondered how he was still not executed. Outside the cave, the soldiers revealed that there was 300 mantis along with thousands of bats, so they decided to leave it for the Adventurers Guild. At the same time, two f***ing slimes created hands to fight with sticks, while the sticky slimes were releasing an interesting kind of sticky fluid into each other. Ryoma realized that the metal slime was really hard, and saw that there was some oxidized iron around, so he decided to begin preparing an alchemy circle. With his powers, he began separating out the oxygen from the rust, creating a Minecraft iron ingot. They wondered when this bullshit magic would end, and Hughes told him that he never watched Full Metal Alchemist, but it was probably worse than Reinhardt's face. Ilaria thought it was the most beautiful thing she's ever seen because she's a gold digger, but her grandfather tried telling him that there was a person he needed to visit. When they got back to town, they visited a trading company where Ryoma demonstrated that he can convert red soil into iron. And with all the high-quality items he can create, he agreed to enter into a trading agreement with Ryoma. However, Ryoma begged the man to keep it a secret, and Reinhardt told him that everyone would try to exploit his powers if they found out about it. Reinbach told him to shut his ugly ass up, but Reinhardt told him that his wife actually slept with another man, so Elise wasn't his daughter. He told Ryoma it was the cycle of life, so he's sure that even Ilaria isn't his daughter. Elise said he's right because he's too ugly for her to ever have kids with him, and Ilaria wondered who the fuck her real father was. That's when Reinbach told Ryoma it's a secret before winking at him, and Ryoma thought this was the greatest Alabama family he could have ever met. At the Adventurers Guild, the investigation conducted by the Duke's family discovered that there was corruption in the government. As the master kept talking, "The only thing I wanted to know is how to reincarnate into that world so I can get that fox girl." He revealed that the next job for the adventurers was going to be eliminating the caves from all the beasts hiding inside. Later that day, Ilaria watched as 3 slimes were releasing a sticky liquid. He wanted to test the hard slime, but as he brought the poison and sticky slimes next to it, he saw that it wouldn't react. But when he brought the acid slime close to it, it began shaking away, and Ryoma finally realized it was afraid of being dissolved. However, the slime started warping its body into a bowling ball, and the animal girl harem that I need started screaming for him to leave already. As all the slimes entered the dimensional home, Ilaria helped Ryoma get ready and wished him good luck on his adventure. At the entrance to the cave, the guild master showed them sketches of the monsters they were going to face, and told them not to let their guard down as they hunted them. While they walked deeper into the cave, Mia asked Ryoma Meow how many slimes he had. So he revealed it's none of her fucking business that he has 211 acid slimes, 3,000 scavenger slimes, and 42069 Riz slimes for removing all of their plot armors. Anna asked him what weapons he can use, so he told her that he has a good Excalibur if she's interested in unsheathing it. As they kept walking inside, Foxy noticed a giant group of bats hiding in the distance. But rather than getting attacked by them, Ryoma thought of using his sound bomb to defeat all of them with a single blow. Instead of explaining it, he began by casting a sound barrier to protect their ears, and then summoned a sound bomb towards the bat's hideout. And when they walked to find out if it worked, they saw the mountains of bat piled up. From there, he unshrunk his sticky slimes and split them apart to begin devouring all of the bats. After a few hours, the adventurers decided to leave for the day, but noticed a group panicking around the quest board, where the master told everyone that a group of goblins had appeared inside the cave. Because they'll be multiplying in numbers, the master decided to make their elimination a priority, and so the adventurers tried blocking off all their exits. When their preparations were ready, 2 of them casted flares to lure out the goblins and tried pissing them off. But as the goblins tried chasing them away, they fell into Ryoma's trap that was filled with acid slimes to melt them. And even those that managed to make it through, the group shot them down with acid arrows and slashed them down. After a few hours of eliminating the goblins, there were still over 500 goblins left, and all of them were beginning to run out of arrows. Even the acid slimes weren't keeping up with the digestion of the goblins, so Ryoma decided to head back to the infirmary where his slimes were healing the injured soldiers. At the same time, Mia realized she was about to get goblin slayered, but Ryoma told them that he'll be holding off all the goblins, and opened his dimensional home to let out all of his slimes. He told them that he's going to be using his sound bomb, so all of them started running away to escape. When he got to the center of the cave, he activated a sound barrier around the goblins and released his sound bomb to defeat all of them. When the goblins were all immobilized, he released the slimes to start beating them up, and slowly began digesting all of them. With just a few of them remaining, Ryoma leaped towards them and slashed all of them down. The soldiers were finally catching up and defeating all the remaining goblins, and before long, all the goblins were defeated. After they were finally done clearing all the goblins, however, the leader of the goblins appeared, and brought many more hobgoblins behind him. However, Ryoma commanded the slimes to destroy him, and they all launched to crush him down. When the slimes finished off all the goblins, Ryoma asked all of them to gather around him, and told the cleaner slimes to start cleaning them up. One of the soldiers told him that goblin grime is supposed to be the only thing that was impossible to clean in this world, so the adventurers were glad that they were going to keep their clothes. Mia was the only one that was upset because she wanted to feel the murky, sticky goblin grime all over her. Outside the cave, Ryoma saw that his healing slimes had evolved to use the high healing spell, and all the soldiers came to tell him that he saved them with his slimes. All of them thought that Ryoma was going to be one of the greatest adventurers ever, and the guild master told them that he's going to go bankrupt after giving them the biggest raise of the year for defeating the leader. While they adventured back, Ryoma wondered if he would have ever left the forest had it not been for the Jamel family, and this entire time, they've been helping him with everything he needed, yet he wondered if he was relying on them too much. So when Mia told him he's going to make a fortune creating a laundry business, he really wondered if that was the right path. Inside the house, Ryoma told the family that he's decided what he wanted to do from now on, and because they've helped him this entire time, he wanted to separate from them and try to become independent. Ilaria realized Ryoma's found a better girl, but Elise asked him if he was going to be leaving them forever. However, Ryoma said he could never find a hotter MILF in all the lands, but Reinhardt was tired of getting cucked, so the grandpa said there were going to be conditions. Number 1 was to fix his ugly ass face, number 2 was to never talk to his wife again, and number 3 was to keep his mouth shut so Reinhardt never finds out about what she does. However, Ilaria had one final condition, and that was for him to wait 3 years until she has a vacation from school, and that he can't be with any other girl in the meantime. Ryoma called her an ugly moron and said her mother looked better. Damn! She told him that if he ever says anything like that again, she was going to make a special place for him in hell. Ryoma realized that he managed to end up with a yandere. Elise told him there was still one last thing, and that if Reinhardt ever found out about her relationship with his father, she was going to scorch his face off harder than Khabib destroying McGregor in the 4th round. He told them that he wanted to open up his own laundromat, and just then, the eavesdropping soldiers and maids came in, telling him that he's going to be the biggest top G of the nation with his business. Seeing that he was going to stay in the town, Reinhardt asked him to keep looking out over the mines to make sure that he eliminates all the monsters. But the only monster that Ryoma wanted to eliminate was Ilaria's hideous face. The following day, he went to the trading company to show his cleaning abilities to Serge, and when he saw his incredible abilities, he told Ryoma to register with the Merchants Guild so that they don't cause trouble for him later. Ryoma thanked him for all of his help. At the Merchants Guild, the guild master Gertrude knew they were trying to avoid getting in trouble, but she thought Ryoma's cleaning slime was genius. Ilaria told him that she seemed to like it.
You need to shut the fuck up!
She told him to get started with welcoming him to the guild, and showed him a waste yard where he can set up his shop. When he got to the location, he saw an old rundown building, but he realized that this would still be a great place in the center of the town, so he told Serge that he will buy the place. Serge told him that he'll take care of the paperwork, and even give him a few of his workers to help him run the business. So in return, Ryoma promised to only buy resources from him to help him out. Over the following days, he had the scavenger slimes eat up all the overgrown weeds, while the acid slimes began dissolving the old building away. He wanted to build a dormitory for the workers on top of that, so he started laying the foundation and created a basement from concrete. Before long, the slimes helped him set up the stone walls, and before it started raining, they had already finished the outside, and the soldiers were helping Ryoma set the tile flooring. This was their way of helping a friend that's constantly saved them, and they assured him that this wouldn't count as relying on them, as friends are always there to help each other. When the rain stopped, he had Mia handle the white paint since she's handled a lot of white sticky liquid before in her life, and they started painting the walls. While she painted the walls, she congratulated Ryoma on reaching rank E, after raising his monster elimination count from the last job. But he told her she'd be at S rank if the guildmaster considered her actual body count. Hot Foxy Girl appeared and told him that she'd gladly help him along with her cheetah friend. But Bunny Girl only cared about eating carrots. Eventually, they were finally done with the painting of the outside, but when Ilaria told him that the outside of the shop looks ugly, Ryoma told her that her face is even uglier. Together, they started putting plants in the dirt, but Ilaria asked him why he worked so hard. However, Ryoma told her that this was nothing compared to his old workplace, but when she realized how he was just as young as her, she tried asking him what he used to do before they met. Ryoma realized that he can't say he was a CS major that never showered, so he told her that he used to create dolls back in the day. Ilaria thought it was amazing, and wanted to see the types of dolls he created, but Ryoma used to create anime girl figurines for salty biscuit games, so he didn't know how to explain it to her. As they walked throughout the town, Ryoma was planning on having a party and inviting everyone to his laundry place. But before they did that, he decided to stop by at the church first. When he was alone, the sphere activated, and Kyufo welcomed him back to their realm. But Ryoma noticed that Gain and Lulutia weren't around, so he tried telling him that they were busy making Truck-Kun Isekai another poor victim. Apparently, they got so distracted that Lulutia was shopping around like a basic girl, while Gain was enjoying the greatest mosh pit of his life. Because their world lacked entertainment, Kyufo himself tried traveling all around the world, but their time was already up, and Kyufo told him not to overwork himself because his younger body is starting to regress his mind backwards. At that moment, Ryoma realized that he was starting to act more like a kid, but he thanked Kyufo for his advice before leaving. The following day, he invited all of the people he knew to his opening party, even the ugly hag at the guild. Before long, Serge was bringing his 2 managers to work for Ryoma while he was preparing the food for the party, and when they walked inside, they realized that it was incredibly clean for a shop built by a kid. When they finally came out, Serge tried introducing his new assistants, so Carla and Callum both introduced themselves to him. Serge told him that they used to be his assistant managers, so Ryoma went on to try and show them how to do their job. First, the customers needed to buy a sack to put their clothes inside of it, and while there were different sizes, they can be reused as many times as they would like. The price they'll charge will depend on the size of the sack, and after accepting their payment, they will hand them a little piece of wood so they can claim their laundry back. After that, they will take the dirty clothes to the area of the cleaner slimes, but the 2 of them wondered if the cleaner slimes were actually as effective as they were supposed to be. So to show them how good they were, he put a soiled shirt into one of them, and after it was cleaned, the metal slime turned into a rolling pan before the sticky slimes folded it up and placed it away. And because there's no water being used, there would never be a need to buy dryers, so he told them to ask him if they were confused about anything. However, they kept responding with monotone words, so Ryoma wondered if they were sad a little kid was their boss. He went on to show them the break area and the restrooms, along with the dorms where they can sleep, but they just continued responding to him with a single word. By the time he was done, all of his friends had gathered for the party, and the slimes began serving them drinks while Mia stared at the white food and wished she could have something else that was white. Ilaria asked him how he was, so Ryoma told her he was a lot better before seeing her face.
What did he say?
When he tried addressing all of his visitors, he realized that no one used to listen to him in his previous life. But when he began giving his speech, Mia started crying while spamming the meow button. He thanked all of them for helping him get this far, and they all congratulated him on finally opening up his shop. As the slimes were helping the others, Mia was excited to get the white murky liquid soup. The master wondered what this dirty ugly mole-ass old hag was doing here, so she told him to worry about his wife who's sleeping with his soldiers. Poor guy got clapped and begged her to stop roasting his ass, but when his assistant wanted to know the details, the grandma started telling her about how badly he was getting cheated on. But the master begged her to stop embarrassing him. When his assistant was gone, she told him to know his place from now on, because unlike him, Ryoma has a bright future ahead of him for being a good guy, and told the master to watch over him. Both of the attendants realized that he's earned everyone's trust, but their gloomy faces continued as they saw the slimes cleaning all the dishes and eating all the garbage. Ryoma asked Reinhardt if he enjoyed the food, and he told him that it was better than the horrible expensive food he used to eat at noble parties. When everyone was done eating, Ilaria came around to give them dessert, and after a few hours, everyone was gone while Callum and Carla cleaned up the place. He wondered if they would want to keep working with him starting tomorrow, so they decided to tell him the truth. At first, they were worried about a kid running a business using slimes, but after seeing how he brought happiness to everyone around him, they were sure that they could believe in him and wanted to stay and help him grow. However, they told him that they needed to remain professional, as the nobles like to spread their mouths wider than Elise spreads her legs. In the morning of the next day, Ryoma wondered if he was actually going to get customers on his first day, and his two assistants came with a cheerful look this time around. Before long, the shop was finally open, so Ryoma was off to tell the Adventurers Guild. When they got to the corner, Ilaria told him that she'll be leaving with Hughes, and smiled at him before going away. At the Adventurers Guild, all of the soldiers knew that he was opening his shop today, but when he wondered how they found out, he saw a sign that was posted to advertise his grand opening, and all the adventurers told him that they'll be visiting him after work. Seeing that the guild was helping him, he decided to try and help them as well, so he took the quest for gathering the herbs. Marlene wondered if he was sure about adventuring when he might be getting a lot of customers today, but he was sure his business was going to be a bigger bust than Elise's massive tip. After a few hours of clearing the caves and gathering the herbs, he went to get his pay from the guild, but saw a giant line waiting outside of his shop. He realized that he needed to help, so he teleported behind the stand. His assistants told him that everyone had gathered on the first day, and all the people told him that the adventurers had told everyone about his shop and how great the prices were. Because of the large demand, Ryoma started rushing to have the slimes cleaning his clothes and ironing them out. Along with the clothes, he began cleaning all the armor and continued working all the way until the day was over. However, he realized that he had been working them this entire time without a break, so he told them that he needed to hire more employees so they can get some breaks throughout the day. Carla thought he was smart because his business was going to grow even bigger, so Callum told him that he should talk to the Merchants Guild Master for some help recruiting some people. So during the night, he went to visit the ugly old hag and asked her if she could help him find some more people for him to work, so she gladly agreed to help him. At night, Reinhardt was shocked to hear how good the cleaner slimes were, but Ryoma reminded him that the only thing he couldn't clean was the ugly on his face.
Yo, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Reinhardt told him that he should visit the anime convention in town, because it's filled with men who haven't seen a shower in the past 2 years. So if he convinces them that their waifu will step on them if they're clean, he'll become a billionaire in less than a year. Ryoma realized that Reinhardt must have been one of those men of culture, and as he went to sleep, Ilaria told him good night.
What did he say?
As he laid in bed, he remembered that he used to work all night and slept like a dead man. But now, he goes to sleep feeling fulfilled after every day. The second day was just as successful as the first day, and one of the girls was shocked that even the toughest stain was taken off, and it shocked the guy in the background so hard that he lost the ability to open his eyes. Back at the Merchants Guild, the disgusting witch hag told him that she'd managed to secure a bunch of people who can work for Ryoma, and when he saw that all of them were from the brothel, he realized all of them were about to be useless. When Ryoma tried introducing himself as the owner of the shop and told them that they're going to be working with slimes under him, all of them got up to leave, calling him ugly. However, there were 2 people remaining, and both of them were excited to work with him. He asked them for their names, so Faye introduced himself along with his daughter Li Ling, and told him that the only problem will be his broken leg. However, Ryoma knew that his healing slimes could fix it, so he told them that he had no problem with it. He wondered what they wanted for pay, so they told him they just wanted to be able to live peacefully, and asked him if he knew of a place where they could sleep for the night. Hearing that, Ryoma told them that they could stay in the dorms he'd built, but he had one last question, and wondered why they were hiding deadly weapons. Both of them were caught off guard, so Faye revealed that they were former assassins, but they quit their jobs a long time ago. The old hag also knew about them, and told him that they're from another country, so Li Ling told him that they lost their homes in the previous war, and when Faye was mining, the cave collapsed on his leg. This was why they ended up here, but they were shocked that someone was able to notice their hidden skills, and they felt there was something off about him compared to all the other humans they've met. Ryoma thought they were referring to his ugly face, but he told them that they can start working as soon as they want, and asked them if they could be his shop's bodyguards. Both of them were happy to agree, so Ryoma welcomed them to the job and shook their hands. The old hag told him to put his sword away, but Faye told her that he can give her a taste of his long hard sword before he sheathed it. Back at the shop, they were shocked to see how popular he was, and when he got inside, he introduced the two new workers to Carla and Callum, and they both started working with the slimes right away. By the end of the day, Carla told Ryoma that they saw even more visitors after everyone's been loving his washing. But now that he trusted Faye and Li Ling, he decided to bring them to a different room. While Faye was laying with his leg down, Ryoma opened up his dimensional home and took out two healing slimes, telling him that they can heal his injuries. Before their eyes, the slimes began healing him until he could use his leg once again, and he was shocked that he could finally use it. Li Ling was about to cry, and Faye thanked him for changing his life, but even when Ryoma said he just wanted to help, they told him that they lost all their money when they fled their country. All of their life savings for his surgery were stolen by the guards, so Faye had given up on the idea of ever walking again. But he promised to repay this debt to him. At night, he showed them to their dorms, and they thought that it was a beautiful room that was fully furnished. Li Ling didn't even know when the last time she'd slept in a bed was, and Ryoma was shocked to see just how much money his washing business had made. Carla and Callum told him that his business could make even more money if he was to expand into different cities, but Ryoma thought it was still too early. However, he tried telling her that Faye and Li Ling had military experience, so he wanted to raise their wages to account for them being bodyguards. Both of them started thanking him for his kindness, and so their second day of business had finally concluded. The next day, Ilaria wished she could help him with his business, but she had to go to her school, so she wished him good luck before he left. Throughout the following days, his business continued expanding, so Ryoma decided to bake them a pizza to help them eat during their breaks, and Mia and her animal harem were back. We're going to pretend that the slimes are just cleaning them in those convenient places. Mia thought this was the best feeling she's ever felt, and by the end of the third day, Carla told Ryoma that they made twice as much money as the previous day. Li Ling told him that his business was going to grow even greater, so Ryoma realized that he should start hiring even more people. To begin with, he realized that he should hire a cook, but neither of them understood why he would do that, so he said that he wanted to have them eat some good food during their breaks, so they could feel good. All of them were shocked at how well he was treating his workers, and at night, he told the Minecraft witch-looking ass hag that he wanted 3 more employees including a cook, so she told him that she'll find him someone to help. The next day, Ryoma added 3 girls, Fina, Elisa's ripoff, Maria, and Tomboy Jane. They had come from a neighboring village, and Selma introduced herself as the cook who used to work at an inn. A week passed after their opening, and their business continued growing strong. A few days later, Ilaria wondered what the blue slime was eating, so Ryoma told her that he was hoping to have it evolve into an iron slime by eating iron chunks. She wondered why he's been spending more time in the mines, so he revealed that he was creating armor for the soldiers in a secret place, and she asked him if she could join. When they got there, she told him that she wanted a quiet place where she could play violin, because she wanted to catch the lemur birds at the lake one day, and started playing it while the slimes were working. When she was done, Ryoma told her that he was finally ready to show her the dolls he was working on, and before her eyes, he started using his earth magic to transform a block into a doll that looked like her. And when he gave it to her, she told him she would treasure it forever. Back at her home, all of them were shocked to see statues that looked exactly like them, and the cultured butler thought even the maids' backs were accurate. Reinhardt wondered why he was so ugly, but Ilaria begged him to create a doll of himself so they're never separated when she's at school. Days began passing with the slimes working hard at the shop, and the cave slimes creating strong armor, so he decided to turn the slimes into a strong army for when he wanted to overthrow Reinhardt's kingdom. And for himself, he decided to try and train against the king slime. But when he rushed to land his attacks, it deflected him with ease. As it launched its tentacle towards him, Ryoma casted a wall to block the attack, and when it leaped at him, he jumped out of the way and teleported towards the slime to beat it. A few hours later, the fabric was finally ready, but he saw the normal slime beginning to evolve in front of him. It turned into a slime that was different from the metal slime, and he realized that it was an iron slime now. He realized that feeding them different types of elements would create different types of slimes, and finally understood how they evolved. At the shop, the cleaner slime started splitting up, so he revealed that cleaning would be even faster now. When he got back to the main room, he saw all of them gathered on the daily report, and wondered if they were finally losing all their money. However, when he looked at the report, he saw that they made 3 times as much money today, all because of the deals they were getting from the companies around them. He thanked them all for how hard they've been working all this time, but realized that he hadn't given them any holidays. They wondered why he looked pale, so he apologized for completely forgetting about their days off, and told them that he wants to give them the weekends off, and all of them started crying. Carla told him that it's extremely uncommon to get days off work, and they had all apologized to their families because they were never coming to see them. Fina told him that most workers would exploit them with little pay, and even risk their safety, so Ryoma told them that the job of this place was to run a clean business, pun intended, because he wanted all of them to feel safe. By the next day, he was back to seeing Marlene for more quests, but she told him that she had a special quest for him today. Outside the Pier of Sikkim, there was a party that caught a special type of new slime, but even the Tamers Guild refused to buy it. He realized that this was his chance to buy a new slime, and adventured off to the place where they were selling it. Inside the abandoned shop, he realized he was on the wrong side of the town, but approached a group of men drinking PG grape juice. He introduced himself as a tamer and adventurer, but one of them called him a pathetic kid playing pretend. When his friend tried apologizing on his behalf, Ryoma told him he knew the story about how useless they were at selling a slime, but Scene picked him up and was ready to pummel him down. However, he started crying and said he felt like an idiot for coming all the way from their homeland to sell a slime that couldn't be sold. Ryoma realized this is why you drive sober or get pulled over. When his friends took him away, their leader asked Ryoma why he came here, so Ryoma told them that he wanted to buy the slime. They were shocked to hear that he wanted to buy it, but the Tamers Guild said it was worthless, so they asked him how much he wanted to pay for it. Because of that, Ryoma told them that he wanted to see the slime first, and after the guy brought it back, Ryoma saw that this was the first liquidy slime he'd ever seen. After closing the lid, Ryoma told them that he'll pay extra for this and offered them 2 gold coins. The men wondered whose rich-ass family he was born into, but took his money without any questions. When he got to the cave, he decided to release the slime and activate the taming contract. So using his magic, he tamed the slime and discovered that it was a bloody slime, and he realized that it must feed on animals' blood. After releasing it on a rat, he saw the slime going inside the rat and sucking all of his blood out before coming out. He realized that this would be extremely useful for eating animals, and welcomed it to his family. After a few more days of running the shop, Elise was finally back in the story for plot development, and she told Ryoma that he was going to learn how to connect his sensations with a familiar like the birds they've brought. Although they wanted to share sensations with slimes, Reinhardt told them that they wouldn't be able to sense anything, so they were even more worthless than Elise in bed. After activating the taming contract with the familiar, Elise told them to focus on the link they had with the familiars. And as Ryoma tried to imagine what his familiar was feeling, he realized that it was just like a VR system, so before long, he started seeing his own reflection, but started feeling like he was going to throw up. Reinhardt told him that he also wants to throw up when looking at Elise, but the way he fixes it is by closing his eyes and imagining someone else, so he told Ryoma to also close his eyes. As soon as he did, he was able to only see the bird's field of vision, but was surprised to see that Ilaria still succeeded on her first try. After all of that, Reinhardt was shocked that Ryoma managed to finish the spell so quickly, but Elise told him that she's used to Reinhardt finishing quicker. To show him how she compensates, she decided to summon her little Fenrir, the descendants of the legendary wolf. Even though they were smaller, she told him they thrusted their claws harder and lasted longer than Reinhardt's sorry ass. She told them she's tamed over 20 Fenrirs and has over 100 wolf-type familiars, as she likes beasts that ravage the night whenever she uses a little peanut butter. Insert what do you mean by that meme. Reinhardt said he doesn't feel threatened at all and doesn't have an inferiority complex or anything like that. But Elise reminded him that he used to brag about his sword because he was compensating for the one he's hiding. Lord have mercy on Reinhardt. This bitch hates her husband and roasted him to ashes. Let's confuse the fake fans among us by spamming Rip Reinhardt after all the violations he's endured. The fake fans would never expect it. Ilaria wondered what was on Ryoma's mind, so he told her that he was tired of having to tell her that he doesn't care about what she says. Elise revealed that her father had 20 dragon familiars, so he revealed that after taming their leader, all of his followers were tamed by him as well. After a few more days of selling all the water-resistant clothes, the Grell frog outbreak was finally about to start, and Ilaria was determined to catch the lemur birds that appeared at the lake. As he spent the night playing the guitar, he thought about how Ilaria wanted to catch the birds. Just then, however, he realized that she would be leaving him after that day, but continued playing his sadness away. When the day finally arrived, they saw hundreds of lemur birds all flying around hunting the grell frogs. At the same time, everyone was hunting for the frogs to get rich off of them. But Reinhardt showed them a person who was trying to tame one of the birds. As he started playing his flute, they realized he was worse at using his pipe than Reinhardt. After thinking his music was straight up garbage, the adventurer tried attacking the birds. But they flew away and began releasing their wind cutter attacks towards him. Ryoma decided to protect him using his earth wall. But a strange frequency sound began subduing all of the people around him. As they all collapsed, Ryoma tried to determine the source of the noise, and saw that one of the birds was casting the noise. So he used his sound barrier to block it from affecting the others. He began pushing it away, and all of the other birds flew away with him. When they were all back up, Rienbach told Ryoma that the bird was a nightmare lemur, and that it could cast dark magic spells to hallucinate people into their worst fears and knock them out. After wondering why it didn't affect him, Ryoma remembered that he had the mental pain resistance skill, but knew that he needed to be careful from now on to avoid that spiritual attack. Even though they had flown away, Ilaria was determined to wait until they came back. By the time the night was approaching, Ilaria said that they were going to separate soon. But Ryoma wondered what the fuck he was supposed to say to that. Before he could say anything, Elise said it's not like they're never going to see each other, and Ryoma was sad that she beat him to the punch. She told him that she would definitely write letters for him, but Hughes punched him on the back and told him to go for a hug at the very least. However, Ryoma told him that he's supposed to prevent this from happening, and Reinhardt was about to end Ryoma's life. So to make him comfortable, Ryoma decided to knock the fuck out of Hughes, but Ilaria was blushing while Reinhardt was about to blow this place up harder than his wife blows his fire. Just then, the lemur birds came back, and Ilaria was finally ready to play her violin for them. She played the violin for 3 straight minutes in the same frame because the show's budget ran out, but more than 10 birds lined up for her. As soon as they came on the ground, she began taming all of them, and she was glad to have finally achieved her goal. Now it was Ryoma's turn, and Elise's plot has been taking all the show's budget, so we got a still of this bird's ugly face for another 5 minutes while he played the guitar. Hughes started crying for God knows why, and before long, he saw that even the nightmare lemur was ready to be tamed by him. When they got on the ground, Ryoma completed his taming contract with them, but the butler wanted to know what type of bird Ilaria had tamed, so when she appraised it, she saw that it was another rare bird. It was the phantom lemur bird, and it casted light magic instead of dark magic. All of them were shocked to see the 2 rarest birds at the same time, so when they got back, they threw a farewell party as they were going to be leaving soon. And as Ilaria played her flute, Ryoma realized that their travels were almost over. Before he went to sleep, Ryoma asked Ilaria if she had any friends at her school, but she told him that she didn't. Most people were afraid of people who held massive amounts of magic, and when a boy tried teaching her how to use magic one day, she accidentally froze him. And even though she unfroze him right away, everyone thought she did it on purpose and started avoiding her. After telling him her story, she wondered if Ryoma was afraid of her now, but he told her that he would never be afraid of her, as she didn't want to harm anyone after all. However, he wondered if she thought he was a weird homeless loser, but she told him that she wouldn't ever think of him like that. Before leaving, she told him that she wanted to give him one last thing, so Ryoma opened the box and saw a ruby necklace inside. It was the one she received on her 10th birthday, and it held an immense amount of magical power. He thought it was too expensive for him to accept it, but she told him that she wanted him to just hold on to it for the time being. That way it can protect him until they see each other. Ryoma realized that he'd been calling her an ugly bitch this entire time while being a cold-hearted moron. So to make it up to her, he decided to give her a cleaner and scavenger slime, and told her that she's not so ugly after all. She started laughing at his gift, and told him that she'll take care of his precious familiars, because he was the one who was ugly this whole time. Ryoma thought he deserved that, and so their final night passed away. When the morning came, all of them wished Ryoma goodbye, and it hit Elise the hardest because she was going to miss him. Ilaria told him to start calling her Elia before leaving, and told him not to forget about her. She told him that she won't be saying goodbye, but will be saying see you instead. After that, she ran away to her carriage, and they started leaving. When she was far away, she was sure she'll see him again, and began playing her flute. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.